Hey, hello, hello, and good to see you. I hope you're all doing okay tonight. And we will be talking about women of virtue in the Bible. We would like to, hopefully, this evening, have a look at the virtuous women in the Bible. How realistic is a virtuous biblical woman in today's in the modern day today, right? Is the virtuous woman, is it achievable in this modern day, right? So that's what we're going to be looking at. So I suggest you strap in, get yourself a drink, get yourself something to snack on, and I'll be back in a sec.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that.
Lovely song.
Ah,
I was
very
vibing.
catchy.
I was vibing to the song.
So was
Uh,
I.
hello, hello, everyone. Deborah, hey.
Hi, how are you?
I am good, thank you. How
Awesome.
is everyone in chat? I can see Dandy, Jessica Taylor, yeah, Dan Ascalon. Hey, Ascalon. Yes, really nice intro. Really nice.
Like it.
Deborah, Deborah, she's looking like a virtuous woman tonight.
Right? We shall see.
Oh, the virtuous woman. I remember being a Christian and thinking I could never match up to this woman. And she was everything, right? I would read this because this was the expectation for us at the time, Christian, when I was a Christian woman. These are the things that you were expected to, to try to achieve. Those were the expectations placed on you as a woman. She
Yeah.
was your she was your the role model that you tried to be like. So but then you come away from that and ask, hmm, is it possible? And why should anyone want to be like that woman, you know so yeah, Deborah, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to have this specific passage, Proverbs 31, what is it, 10? 10 through 31? Because in the last several years of my Christianity, I was in the Hebrew roots, like Jews for Jesus kind of movement.
Mm.
And every single Saturday, we read that passage. It was a
Oh, wow.
reminder to be like that virtuous woman.
Mm, mm,
Uh,
mm.
yeah, so I had it almost memorized by 2017, having read it for so many years every single Saturday or Shabbat. And that's sort of the go-to for the messianic Bible believers, for the women to remind them just exactly how virtuous they should be. Yeah, being praised in the gates. What I didn't realize until after the beginning of my deconversion is it mentions her handmaids.
Hmm.
So she had help.
Tell me about that. And okay, if you I think
Yeah.
what we should do is actually read Proverbs 31. What do you think?
Oh, yes, please.
Because this is so, guys, for those of you who do not know what the virtuous woman, well, the attributes and what she was supposed to look like, this virtuous woman that every Christian woman is taught to try and be like, right? I would read it, and you guys, or would you like to read it, Deborah?
Sure, sure. I'll go ahead and read it.
Okay, go on.
It's familiar.
Oh, tell me about it.
Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he will have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works diligently with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is still night, and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She
Hmm.
girds her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her candle does not go out at night. She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretches out her hands to the poor. Yes, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine linen and sells it, and delivers belts to the merchants.
Hmm.
Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness.
Oh,
Well to the ways of her household, and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excel them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised.
ooh, ooh, ooh.
Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates.
Wow.
Yeah,
That, no, wait, hang on. All you just read, was that from one woman?
yeah, yeah,
That
that's
looked that looked to me like those were 10 people. No
right,
way in hell can you expect one person to be
right.
getting up in the middle of the night doing all of this, right?
Hmm.
And then she's taking care of every single person.
Hmm.
She's working, what does it say? She gets up while it's dark and
Yeah,
provides food for her family and portions for her seven girls. Wait, hang on. If she's got seven girls,
yeah, she's got servants
uh,
now.
yeah. So that means this lady must be rich.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she considers a field and buys it and plants a
Ooh,
vineyard. She sells belts to the tradesmen. So she's a businesswoman,
she
but
is.
she is not idle. She strengthens her arms, which most modern men would be like, "Oh, she works out." Woohoo! Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a lot there, and her price is far above rubies, which
right.
tells me that they're comparing her to have a value, right? So
Yes.
she's property,
There's
regardless of whether
there's
she's
a
a business person or not.
there's a
She's considered
price.
property, right?
Yes. There's a
Who bought her?
price on her head. And
Who bought her?
this is what the Bible considers women to be. Even the most
Mhm.
virtuous of them all has a price over
Yes.
her head. And you know, since when does the book starts to tell women what they should expect, what they should do and shouldn't do? So my question to you, Deborah, is, can you please show me a scripture that describes a virtuous man? if there is any?
Oh gosh. So according to the New Testament, Lot was considered a righteous man. I don't know about virtuous, but he was considered righteous, even though he offered his virgin
Oh
daughters, to be used and abused by the men of the
gosh.
city so that his guests would
Oh,
not be taken. I mean, yeah, it's mm,
sickening.
yeah. I'm not. I think. Was it? Well, Noah was considered righteous because he was saved,
Oh
but
God,
he was a
not
drunk.
Noah, not
He
Noah,
was he was a drunk.
not Noah.
The
Ah,
patriarch, the patriarch of the Judeo-Christian nation, uh, was going to offer up his only son as a burnt offering. Um, yeah. Let's see. I have a hard
oh no,
time trying to wrap my head.
don't forget David now. Don't forget David.
Oh yes, David.
Don't
David
forget
who
David. The man after God's heart. That one.
right.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying, Deborah, is that there isn't any one dedicated passage of the Bible to that describes the characteristics of what a virtuous man should be, and what men should strive to achieve. Well, how come this book gets to tell women, what they should ascribe to be? Why?
Yeah.
Why is that the case? Why are we telling women, what to do and how to become, but then completely just not bother the men with this?
Well,
I don't
because
understand it.
women are the weaker vessels, and
Oh, oh, no.
Eve was the mother of sin, right?
Oh,
So
please no. Oh,
in
no.
perpetuity, women get blamed for sin. They get blamed for tempting men. They literally are the scapegoat for everything that men do.
Exactly. The story of Adam and Eve, right? They have made Eve to be like she was one, the cause of everything. But hang on, when you go and read that scripture, nowhere did God tell Eve she was not to eat of the fruit. He told it to Adam,
Mhm.
right? He told it to Adam. And
Yeah.
so who knows, she might have just looked at Adam and thought, what does he know, right? He hasn't got a clue what he's doing half the time. Hence why I'm here to give him a helping hand. Because of course, if he could do it all by himself, I wouldn't be here, right? So she's just looking at him like, okay, what does he know, right? And so God never told Eve. Well, at least when I read the passage, there's nowhere that God specifically told it to Eve. So she might have just thought maybe he was just pulling her legs or something, and thought, okay, why not? Why don't I try it? And then when you read the scripture, guess what? The moment she eats, not him, Adam, standing right next to her.
Yeah,
He
he was
was right
standing right
next
next
to
to
her
her.
all
Yes.
that time.
Who was with her is the exact verbiage in that verse. Adam who was with her. It says it right there.
He,
If he had a problem with it, he could have just, whoa, 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 whoa,
he could
stop.
have
Wait a
stopped
minute.
it.
He didn't stop it. He
He,
didn't
he-
stop it. He was told to guard the garden, and yet he just allowed her to continue in what he would consider sin? Well, no, of course not, because he didn't know sin. He didn't know good and evil before eating of it. So they're both blamed for something they would have no knowledge of intimately. Uh,
so
but I mean, geez. I had another point I was gonna say.
while you're thinking about that, right? I'm looking at this story and trying to see how is this feasible in this modern day, this virtuous woman? And a couple of things are jumping out at me. is
Mhm.
this woman, right? Um, no one's telling us about her needs. Who's meeting her needs,
Oh, she's the helpmate.
right?
Oh,
Who's
here
who's
I
meeting
remember.
her needs?
I remember I was going to say. So, per the Bible, uh, women are the wives are the husband's helpmate, right?
Oh.
My dad even wrote a song about my mom being his helpmate, right? So I heard that
was
growing
was
up,
your
and
mom
it was just drilled into, huh?
was your what was your dad has your dad got a missing rib? Because the woman is supposed to be the lost rib that is found. So I guess when men find their helpmeet, they should have one rib missing. So I guess your dad must have
I
a
know,
rib,
right?
a rib out of place.
No. No, but it's if it if if women are the helpmeet, and we can go right back to Genesis again, and you see that all the animals were brought to Adam, and a sufficient companion among the animals were not found
Oh,
for him. So women were kind of an afterthought to God.
yes.
At least Eve was
Mm-hmm.
specifically an
Mm-hmm.
afterthought. And he could have easily created her out of the dust in the same way he fashioned Adam. But no, he took a rib. And we know per science and cloning technologies now that you don't use male DNA to create female DNA. I mean, there's just that. I'm going to throw that out there. But it's really sad when you look at um, she's supposed to do him good and not evil all the days of her life.
Oh,
So she's supposed to
yes.
be perfect. That is
Mm-hmm.
literally claiming that she is supposed to be perfect her whole life to him. I'm sorry, I don't know a single woman out there who is going to do that her entire life.
Oh gosh. So the
So it's
the
not
other thing,
realistic.
the other thing, now we when you think about the modern day woman, right? She has her struggles. She has the things that she bothers herself with on a daily basis, with childcare, with ill health, and you know, what about women who are not rich? What about women who are
Mhm.
living below the poverty line, but yet
Correct.
are being told, you must be like a virtuous woman? I mean, I grew up poor,
Same.
but yet I grew up being taught I need to be like this woman and never feeling like I could ever, I could never meet up to this standard. The standard was set so high,
Yeah.
right? This is a woman is buying vineyards. I mean, how? How am I where am I supposed to find the money to go buy go buy a vineyard? And so I think this doesn't take into account the modern day woman who has her issues, right? Some women don't have help with childcare. They don't have
Mhm.
servants, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
what this is only a woman who, in this present day, who has servants just
Yeah.
lying around waiting.
No.
Don't get me wrong, some people still do, but you know, heh, yeah, I don't know about servants. Mm-mm.
Well, I mean, I I have a job. I write. I sell books. Um, I clean my own house. I don't have servants.
Yes.
I grew up very poor. We were me and my sisters were going to the local consignment church for consignment clothes that were all just piled up in the back of a convex um, semi truck convex, and they're just full of these big, huge black trash bags, and we had to go through them to find clothes for the next school year. That's it is completely unrealistic to expect a woman to be virtuous when she has to work and provide. My
Mm-hmm.
dad wanted my mom to be a virtuous woman, but he didn't work. My mom
Oh,
did, as a waitress providing for a family of 6. And
Wow.
my dad decided just one day to retire at age 44.
Mm-mm.
That's this is completely unrealistic, especially with today's inflation rates. Usually it takes 2 people and their collective income to manage a household. And then you add the arbitrary gender roles to the mix, wherein a man works and he comes home and he puts his feet up and expects the woman to just clock into her second shift and continue to work and keep him happy in the bedroom.
But of course, don't you ever forget that her body doesn't belong to her at all.
Exactly.
Her body belongs to the
Right.
man, right? So
Right. Right.
she's got no control over her own body, right? But did you know, Deborah, that all this, all of this, there is a goal at the end of her virtue, and the goal is so that her husband is respected at the city gate.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
I
That
mean,
she is not only is, according to the New Testament, can she be responsible for his salvation, right? So if she's believing, she should stay believing and stay in prayer just in case he is saved by her obedience, right? So his salvation is hinged upon her obedience. So there's a lack of responsibility there. But at the other side, yes, which is exactly what you said. She's his trophy.
yes.
If she's great and good and all this submission and continuing to earn an income and provide it to him, because I'm sure she doesn't keep that, um, unless it's to buy a vineyard so that he's more respected in the gates. Like, okay, this isn't for she gets blessed by her husband, or her husband trusts her and she's blessed by her children, but is she respected in the gates?
Hmm. Is
It
she?
doesn't say
That's the
that.
question. That is the question. Is she respected? Is she respected among her peers?
Right.
Is she respected among the people who she's slaving for? Because this is just she's just slaving away for all these other people, right?
Mm,
And the husband, nowhere do they tell us anything about his job, what he brings to the table,
right.
what is his, how is he supporting her? Nothing has been, nothing is told to us about him. Instead, it's all about her and her and her, and then all of this so that he can sit among his what does it say now, so that her husband is respected at the city gate, where
Right.
he takes his seat among the elders of the land. I can
Right.
just imagine, I
Puffed
can
up
just
chest.
imagine, I can just imagine him, right? I can just imagine him
Yeah.
feeling really like he's something, seated there, wearing the clothes that she bought. Don't forget,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
bought.
Yeah.
She bought the clothes. She's paid for everything, right? And he's just sitting there. No good, no well, good for nothing, but never mind. He sits
Right.
there and he's this is what the Bible wants us to believe, that he's the elders and everyone, they're looking at him and they're like, whoa, you married good, your wife, she is everything, right? And he's there all puffed up and feeling really good with himself because yes, he's got, I mean,
Right.
just,
Well, let's go to the book of Esther for a moment and look at Queen Esther, right?
oh
She was
yes.
so wound up tight, afraid to approach her own husband, that she gave him a feast for 3 days before asking her favor of him.
She could have been
That
killed
is
for that.
that is yeah, exactly. That is fear. What person on the planet thinks it's a good life to live in fear?
Whoa. Oh, but this is the story is, in the story of Esther, is what happened to Vashti.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened to Vashti?
She was
when
exiled.
I
Yeah.
know, just for what? Because the king summoned her and
Yeah.
she couldn't get to him. Now, this is the thing with the Bible. The Bible m- tends to miss out some fundamental information. For
Right.
example, why did she refuse to go to the king when she was summoned? What was the reason? Because, I mean,
We don't know.
that's the thing. We don't know. All
Perhaps
we know,
she could have been menstruating and knew that
oh, she
she
was
should
ill.
not be around him, right? Poor
Oh, she was
according
ill.
she could have been ill, but he wanted her to be that trophy for his friends. He wanted to look good
Yes,
because she
that's
was
all it
supposedly the most
was.
beautiful person in the land. So her beauty was his trophy.
But it's terrible. Now the other thing is, I think about the modern day woman, when she's ill or when she's you know going through depression
Right.
or postnatal depression, all those just ill health. So what happens then? The Bible just doesn't take into account that
Mhm.
this woman, she's got blood running through her, right?
Mhm.
At some point, she wouldn't be able to do all these things. So what happens then, right? Would the husband just immediately go get himself another virtuous woman? Because in those days, men could marry as many as they wanted.
Oh yeah, look at Abraham had Sarah and Hagar, and Jacob had two wives and two concubines, slave wives. And this whole concept of one wife or one man and one wife, sure they want to litigate that and forget all these other alternative loves in the world, but they forget that these patriarchs had more than one wife. Look at King Solomon, who was gifted one of the most beautiful gifts you could possibly have, this immense amount of wisdom. He had, what, 300 wives and 700 concubines?
Hmm,
Women are just property at that point.
They are property. They are. They are property. I know. I mean, I'm just looking at this. I'm just looking at the story here about her considering a field and
Hmm.
buying it out of her earnings. It says out
Yeah,
of her earnings,
right.
and she plants a vineyard.
So
So, but then,
where's the provision that the man is giving?
hmm? That's what I say. Maybe if we find the passage of scripture that tells us about the virtuous man, maybe then we'll find where his own earnings is going or his own contribution to this home. Where
Right.
where is that? This is this is problematic because I was married and I was in an abusive marriage,
Oh,
and
I'm so sorry.
my ex would always load this Bible over me,
Yeah.
would always say to me, "Oh, but it is your duty to do this, and it is your duty." For some reason, he knew about all the things that I was expected to do. And funny how God always used to speak to him.
Hmm.
God always used to speak to him when he was in the shower. But it's what God always would say that used to be the problem. And that God always seemed to tell him to warn me or other people. God never really had anything good to say whenever he's telling him anything. So God will always tell him to tell his wife. God will say
Yeah.
to him in the shower, tell your wife that she is stepping out of line, right? And God
Hmm.
said, and I used to wonder, I don't understand this God. How is it that God is telling you what to tell me, but never tells you what you must do to correct your behavior, to sort yourself out? You know? So, because he was the head of the home. Don't forget,
Right.
he was the
Right.
head of the home. So that's why God could go to him directly and tell him about me.
So why couldn't God go directly to us and tell us what to tell our husbands? Somehow it just never
Oh
works
no,
that way, right?
there's a reason why. There's a reason why. I'll tell you the reason. Don't
Uh-huh.
forget that the man is the covering for the woman,
Yeah, yeah.
and Christ is the covering for the man. Don't forget the hierarchy now, right?
Right.
There's that hierarchy
Remember
of
your
which,
place.
there you
Yeah.
go, and of
Yeah.
which the woman is at the bottom. She's always at the bottom end of that hierarchy. So, yes, the man always is above the woman. So
Yeah.
if she had to, in fact, in some places, she's not even allowed to speak.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
not even allowed to talk in public. If she had any questions, she had to wait until she gets home and ask her husband.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Even if he's got no clue, even if he's got no idea, just go ask your husband.
Well, what's okay, so I just was looking through this and something caught my eye that I've never put it together. I didn't connect the dots before. But it says in verse 30, favor is deceitful.
Ah.
Okay, wait a minute though. I thought Jesus grew in favor with God
Oh,
and with man.
but that was Jesus. That was Jesus.
I
Special.
mean, I mean, I'm just saying, that just sounds a little sketch to me. Uh, if favor is deceitful, just like the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked, and who can know it, then how is I don't get that. Like, how are we supposed to love God with all our heart if the heart is deceitful? And if
Mm-mm.
favor is deceitful, how did Noah have favor? How did Abraham have favor? How did Moses have favor? How did Jesus grow in favor? How did that? Oh, Mary had favor with God. That's how she was chosen.
Oh,
She was chosen to be impregnated by God, even though she was already married,
yeah.
underaged.
Mm. Do you know what? Do you know what Mary did to find that favor?
I don't know. I don't know.
She just found it.
Well, I guess she was obedient or virtuous, maybe, I don't know.
No, but
But
she was a child.
she was
So
trying, yeah.
what
They're
would a child have done? Mm. You
I
see that,
mean,
like I said,
she was a bird.
The Bible. Oh, but she wasn't the only virgin though.
Oh, I
But
know.
she already had a man she was intending to get married to. So she was not even available. She
Yeah.
was not available. She shouldn't even have been considered for whatever that God was trying to do. She was not. Well, I
Well, I mean,
guess.
yeah. I mean, think about it. If we're going to look at that in context, right? So the Bible very often talks about how virginity is super super important in women, right? They whatever is between a woman's leg is super super important. Weird. Okay, I don't know what the fascination of virgins is. However, if she was married to Joseph and had not known him intimately, that means she hadn't even bled yet. She hadn't even had her period yet.
So, okay, on the subject of Mary, this is something that I've wondered. So she was chosen because she was a virgin, right? So she would
Yeah,
have been a virtuous. I mean, considering all the women in the Bible, she would have been considered one of the most virtuous.
right.
Okay, so she was a virgin, hence why she was chosen. One of the
Yeah,
reasons why she was chosen.
yeah.
Okay, so when baby Jesus was inserted into her, she would have been a virgin, right?
Uh,
So who took her virginity?
oh, well, technically, Jesus.
No, 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 no,
I
no,
mean,
no,
I,
no.
I,
It'll
it
be
would be
God.
God,
God, yes.
right?
Because
But I mean, obviously, you're not breaking spiritually. You're not breaking the hymen. But
no, no,
yeah, you're
no,
right. He took her
mm-mm, mm-mm,
virginity.
no. You listen. When the baby was inserted, a hymen wasn't broken. But I can guarantee you, when that baby was coming out,
Yeah.
that hymen would be
Oh
shattered.
yeah.
It just would
Whew.
all over the place,
No more.
right?
No more. All the things are
So
gone.
when that baby was going up, unless, unless uh Joseph got in there somehow,
Right. Right.
which they don't tell us, so we don't know. So we have to assume that when that baby came out, that hymen couldn't have stayed intact. Come on now. So that means God took
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. And
pregnant.
honestly, lying with a married woman is considered adultery in the Bible. So I don't know
Mm.
why Mary would have been considered virtuous.
No, but they didn't go. They didn't have sex. The Holy
Oh, I
Spirit,
know they
when
didn't
he
have
when
sex,
he
but
when
he
he
still
overpowered her, it wasn't sexual.
overshadow, right? I know
Yeah,
overshadowing, but it's
overshadow.
he still took another
Yes.
man's wife. That's adultery. You know, in the Proto Evangelium of James, which is an extra biblical writing, uh, the priest gave Joseph to give to Mary the test of the bitter waters. It's found in Numbers 5:21, I think. Um,
You still know your
the
Bible.
powder,
Hmm.
right? The the dust from the temple floor mixed with the water that's supposed to induce um an abortion if a man thinks that his wife has cheated on her. So in that extra biblical writing, Mary was given the test. This
Mm.
is, I mean, but I mean, if God's telling you that your woman is still virtuous, why are you giving her the test?
Exactly. I mean, a lot of this doesn't make sense. I've got a little write up here from the Proverbs 31. It says that Proverbs 31 10 to 31 presents the divine challenge for womanhood. Diligent homemaker, valuable helper, a nurturing mother, upright and God fearing woman. Oh, he didn't talk about the God fearing part because, of course, who's a virtuous woman if she's not God fearing? You got to fear God. Anyway,
Right.
says she's got to be a nurturing mother, upright and God fearing. The wife of noble character receives a reward for faithfulness because she is not dependent on the temporary, superficial, deceptive facade of charm, which is a mere outward varnish, easily scarred and marred by people and circumstances, and beauty, which can depart like an unfaithful friend to make room for wrinkles and blemishes. Rather, she crowns an enduring, satisfying fear of the Lord with a reverent and obedient spirit that makes her worthy of praise and honor from her family and the Creator Himself. Homemaking is unique in combining the most menial jobs with the most meaningful tasks. It is a challenge to accommodate others without losing one's own identity. It is a demanding pursuit, but the fringe benefits are terrific. William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army, gave this glowing tribute to his wife Catherine at the time of her death. To me, she has been made of God, never failing sympathy, reliable wisdom, and unvarnished truth, in short. All that is noble and good, and consequently a tower of strength, a mine of wealth, and an overflowing fountain of comfort and joy. With undistracted devotion to the Lord, Catherine Booth was a woman to be praised because she feared the Lord.
Hmm. But be careful not to get prideful,
Oh
ladies.
no. Oh my goodness.
I don't know if you've come across Lori Alexander, the transformed wife on
Oh, whoa,
Twitter.
her. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, so I found her, um, I don't know, a year and a half ago on Twitter, and she was talking about how a woman's place is in the home. And my first response was, what about the Proverbs 31 woman who sold
Ah.
belts to the tradesmen and with her own earnings bought a field? What about that? And immediate block.
Oh, did she now?
Immediate block.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So while the narrative is there with Christian women in and internalized misogyny,
Mm-hmm.
they fail to look at the entire Bible in context, and they want to throw out and dismiss these other sections of Scripture that should be embraced. Um, Honestly, whether you're in a relationship or not, uh, no, even biblically, a woman's place is not always in the home.
Oh no, absolutely not. Absolutely. Did you see the part of this scripture that says, "Her children arise
Mhm.
and call her blessed,"
Yeah.
as though she gets on with every child that she
Right.
has, as if that's possible. Her children just arise and just call
Right.
her, "Hey, you're blessed."
Right. Bless you, mother. Bless
Oh,
you.
please.
That doesn't
I
happen. That's
mean,
not realistic.
it is not
It's
realistic.
not.
Absolutely not.
Maybe
Said
up
her
until
her
they're like
husband her husband
7.
also her husband also, and he also praises her. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's pretty unrealistic too whew, in a lot of relationships that I have seen in churches throughout my life. Uh, I One of the most cringe stories I ever heard was from a person who attended church on Mother's Day, and the pastor asked all the women to rise, and so the women all stood, all the mothers stood up. And they thought, oh goodness, we're going to get some recognition here and some praise. And the pastor asked the women to sing the song, Make Me a Servant, Humble and Meek. Lord, let me lift up those who are weak. And of course, that woman turned in shock to her husband, who was still sitting, and he stood up and escorted them quickly right out the door.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like sitting there thinking, yeah, um, I might have done that at the end, in the last several years of my faith walk.
Mm-hmm.
But early on, I had so much internalized misogyny, I probably would have thought that was great and wonderful and completely blind to what it was really saying. That women are the slaves. Make me a
Mm-hmm.
servant. A
Mm-hmm.
servant is exactly the same definition as slave.
Of course, absolutely. And I'm just going to remind everyone, if you are not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe.
Oh
If you
yeah.
would like to become a Patreon, the Patreon links are there in the chat. I think I can see it there. Just click on the link and yeah, help support Skeptic Haven. And also Deborah Grace, beautiful, beautiful lady. She is an author. Do you want to
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your book? There we go.
Yeah.
Crucifying the Bible. I need me a copy. Ish, I've got to
Oof.
crucify the Bible. Mm-mm-mm.
Yes. So I have quite a few tables in the book that our quick reference to all the scriptures that I use. I'll put that up now that you have the bigger screen there.
Yes.
Uh, so there's tables there, and it gives a quick reference of all the scriptures that I use throughout the chapter, using only the scriptures to debunk the scriptures,
Oh
crucifying the
wow.
Bible, and my next book will be out later this year. Shackled Souls, a biblically controlled world.
Oh, interesting. Gosh. Your book is on Amazon?
It is. It's in all the formats:
Oh, it's
hardback,
on the formats. Oh,
paperback,
nice, nice.
yeah, audio and Kindle. So yeah, all
You
four.
know, I think you're more virtuous than the virtuous woman.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, because there's one profession she didn't have, but she was a jack of all trades, but the one thing she wasn't was an author.
There, I don't think there's anything in the Bible that was ever written by a woman. And they claim that parts of Proverbs or um what was it? This parts of Song of Solomon may have been written
Oh,
by a woman, but most scholars believe that the entire Bible was written by men.
I mean, I can see that because I mean, look at only two books. I bet I bet that was just something they just decided, you know what? We can't have a book completely all by men. We've got to add at least one or two of women, so that we're not looked at as just being completely misogynistic. Let's just add, but even then, only two out of how many? That makes no sense. It just and these two women who are talked about in the Bible, Esther and Ruth, when you go and read the stories of these two, these are women that just went along with what was good. They really had not a lot of choices. They weren't given a lot of choices. Esther Esther was given a huge task. Look, the lives of the Jews depend on you. If
Right.
you don't go to the king, right, risk your life to
Uh-huh.
do this, then we're doomed.
Yeah.
So she had to go. Then
Right.
what's her name? Ruth, well, she just had to follow along. She was just a follow character, right? Because they tried to make her out as though, oh, she just, she was obedient to a fault, would follow without question, without, you know, and best of all, Jesus is linked to Ruth because of her obedience.
But even Ruth was somewhat dismissed after she, in all humility, asks Boaz or covers her feet or takes the cloak from his feet and covers herself. When he wakes up in the middle of the night, he's like, "Oh yeah, cool, but you're gonna have to leave before morning because we don't want anybody to think that there's any inappropriateness here, and women shouldn't be at the threshing floor." And um, so she was kind of dismissed. If you read it, it doesn't actually sound all that praiseworthy.
Hmm.
But maybe that's just my interpretation. I kind of, when I read it again after my deconversion, I was like, that doesn't sound great. It sounds kind of cringe to me.
It does. The other thing is, this is the part that got me, Deborah. I'll tell you the part that got me. Right. It says charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised.
Yeah,
So the people who read this, when they interpret this, they tell the woman that you shouldn't be all about this.
right, right,
You shouldn't be all about looking good. You shouldn't be all about, adorning yourself with the jewelry and all these things.
right.
But you should concern yourself with fearing the Lord. I mean,
Yeah,
fearing the Lord. When I was a Christian, this made sense to me, fearing the Lord. But during my deconversion, I started asking the question, now, why do I need to be afraid of the Lord? Why do
Yeah.
I need to be afraid? Right? I mean, it makes no sense to be afraid. It shows that you are being controlled. When you're afraid, that means you just doing everything you're told by this character. You have no choice. You have
Mhm.
no free will when you're afraid of this person. How on earth can you then exercise your free will if all you're doing is living in fear? And then it tells you to work out your salvation with fear.
Yes.
Work it out with fear and trembling. Come on.
Well, you should remember that Israel is considered God's inheritance, which is property, and we are bought with a price. So we are property according to this book, and a slave because
Mm,
he's the master in heaven, right? The New Testament calls God the master in heaven. So if we are his slave because we've been bought by a price, so our body's not our own, our mind is not our own, our heart is not our own, our spirit is not our own. Nothing belongs to us anymore. We have no identity. We have no personal agency at all anymore. So if we're same in the New Testament, it says that servants should obey your masters with fear and trembling. Christians, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. The entire Bible is a handbook for slavery. Full stop.
mm, it is. And I think what's even worse, do you know what it is like to be a servant of a servant, a slave of a slave? I'll tell you what I mean.
Whew.
So you're expected to be a slave
Hmm.
to this God, both men and women.
Yes.
But then the woman is told that she is under the she has to submit to
Uh-huh.
her own husband.
Or
He is
father.
above her or
Father, and
father.
then when she leaves her father, she submits to her husband. That's why there's a giving. The father gives away the bride, right? That's why that their exchange is there. Women are exchanged property even in today's society.
Absolutely.
They don't even keep their own last name anymore in many
Mm-mm-mm.
countries.
Mm-mm.
So it should not be any surprise, but it still hurts to remember. We had people come to our house and the dishwasher was broken. And one of my dad's friends says, "Hey, I'll help you fix your dishwasher." My dad says, "Why? I have four here," meaning my mom and me and my sisters. Yeah.
Oh no. No, he
So,
didn't say that.
oh, yes, yes.
Oh gosh.
So,
I mean, so like I was saying, if the men and women are both servants, then
right,
imagine the woman, she's the servant to the servant.
right.
Because now she has to be under the man who's he's already a servant to God.
But what is tangible about his um, correction? He has no discernible way to verify
Mm.
he is a servant other than his own submission to that book.
Mm.
Women have to submit to the book and to a
And
man.
there you go. That's what I'm saying. A servant to a servant.
Yeah, but there's no discernible way that he is being controlled other than his own self control.
Right.
So if he has no self control, there's no discernible what means and measures in which he can show himself to be a servant. No, he
True.
lords himself over the women. The pastors lord themselves over the congregations. The fathers lord themselves over their family. The husbands lord themselves over their wives. There's no
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
discernible means and methods in which most men can feel oppressed.
Right. There's a couple of questions in chat. The first one, do you have a favorite woman of the Bible, such as one with an interesting story behind
Mhm.
her? I I struggle with the Bible these days. I
Yes.
completely struggle with the Bible. I'm very anti the treatment of women in the Bible. I feel so sorry for a lot of the women in that book. And so if you ask me, I would say they're all my favorites. To live in those times, to be subjected to the things that they had to put up with. I I look at a lot of their lives and think I couldn't have. I know myself. I'm opinionated, right? I would tell you about yourself. After a while, I would tell you how I'm truly feeling, and so I don't know. I honestly do not know if I have any favorites, but I think they're all of them, all women that are they're to be praised and to be commended.
Um, I think the most underrated woman in the Bible is the Queen of Sheba,
Mm,
who travels to King Solomon to learn. And while most Christians would poo-poo the idea of women going to college and seeking higher education and more independence and higher paying jobs, no, 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 no. Woman's place is in the house. She's to be barefoot and pregnant. Full stop, right? I don't like that narrative, but that was what was preached from the pulpits in many of the churches that I was in throughout my life. But I look at the Queen of Sheba and I'm like, she was a badass. She
mm,
took a trip. It doesn't say she took a trip with a man. It says she took a trip with her entourage and that brought gifts to King Solomon. And she just sat at his feet and said, "Give it to me. I want more knowledge. I need to know what you know." And he didn't turn her away.
That's yeah. I completely forgot all about her. But saying that now, I remember there's one lady I remember, and I think she's got the same name as yourself, Deborah. There was a time when the children of Israel had no kings, they had nobody ruling over them, but they had a judge and a female judge,
Yeah.
and I think her name was Deborah, if I'm not
Yeah. Yeah.
mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Who ruled over these people
For 40 years.
for how many?
40.
40.
Yes.
And there was no problems with her. There was no issues like King David and King Solomon, those ones, and the shenanigans, but she
Mhm.
did her best. So yeah. There's
See,
another question.
well,
Sorry, did you
there was
gonna say
one more
something?
woman who I thought was pretty also very badass is the woman who gave the warrior warm milk and he fell asleep and she drove a tent stake through his head.
Who was that?
Oh, I forgot her name. I
Uh,
can't
was
remember.
that
Somebody in the
was that
chat put it up.
was that Samson and Delilah?
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh,
No, there was another woman. I am drawing a blank. JL? Yeah, I think it was JL. Um,
JL.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she helped win a pretty significant battle, I think, by that death and drove a tent stake through the guy's temple into his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the panel. So Rian, hey Rian says, who do they feel is the woman that suffered the worst in the Bible? Two women come to mind for me.
Mhm.
First one is Eve. Why I would say Eve is, imagine eating a fruit and then being punished through your reproductive system,
Yeah.
being told that you will birth in pain,
Mhm.
right? And every woman that comes after you will suffer the same fate. Can
Mhm.
you imagine the kind of burden
Right.
that woman would have had to carry?
Yeah.
right? All of her girl children who gave birth. And she would look and say, this was because of me, right? I, and then she looks at the man. When it comes to him being punished, he's told, oh, you will till the ground. You would think that if she's punished through her reproductive system, the man should have been given the same sort of punishment as well. But
He wasn't
no,
cursed at all. The ground was cursed for his sake, but
but
Adam was not cursed.
no, that's what I'm saying. He wasn't
I hate
cursed.
that. Right. I
But
hate that.
but guess what? She was made to be his helper, right? To
Mhm.
help him with his work. So whatever punishment he was given, right, to work the grounds. Guess who's helping him? And guess who's partaking of his punishment as well? So it was a double whammy for her.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
being punished, he cannot share in her punishment, but then she gets to I just then
Yeah.
the second woman for me is Mary. Oh, the fact that God took her virginity,
Yeah. Yeah.
just wow.
Uh, so for me, I have two people as well, different, but so Miriam was called a prophetess. She's Moses' sister who helped him live. Like she was part of his reason for existence. And when after being called a prophetess, she and Aaron both bring up Moses' wife for whatever reason. And they followed up with a question and asked, is God speaking through us too? Well, she's a prophetess. Technically, there was no need to ask the question. But then God gets mad at that question for some reason. And Aaron says, we have sinned. Miriam and I have sinned. But God doesn't punish Aaron. God gives Miriam leprosy
Oh
for that
no.
and casts her out of the entire congregation. Like she's exiled. And Moses had to beg on her behalf for her to be healed. I think that's horrible, horrible example
Of course
of
it is.
the type. I mean, it's not a horrible example. It's a great example of the horrible type of God that is exhibited. He's very misogynistic throughout. The second person I think is the one who found or discovered, saw Jesus after his resurrection. And Jesus says, don't touch me because I have not yet ascended to the Father.
Oh,
Okay, so that's his example. He says, don't touch me because not because you're a woman, not because you're menstruating, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. 10 verses later, he tells Thomas, touch me.
oh my goodness. Oh
The
wow.
the these little things are
Mhm.
hints
Mhm.
throughout the Bible of the incredible misogyny that is exhibited in the scriptures. And
Yes.
if they're inspired, then I don't like whoever is inspiring them
Yeah,
at all.
don't forget the Samaritan woman that came to Jesus. The one whose
Mhm.
daughter was the daughter or son was sick.
Vexed with a demon, yes.
No, the one who's oh yes, that one.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's screaming on top of her lungs,
yeah.
Jesus, help, help,
Help,
help,
help,
help.
help.
And Jesus, he just couldn't be bothered. He
Right.
just ignores her.
Yeah,
And the disciples have to go to Jesus. Jesus, please help out, help this woman, or just let tell her to go away. She's bothering us or whatever.
right,
And
right.
then Jesus then goes to her and she's like, can you help me? And Jesus says, no, I can't. I didn't come for the likes of yourself.
Yeah,
I
I didn't
only
come for the
came
dogs.
for no, I know I didn't come for the dogs. I
Right.
came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You know,
Yeah,
you're not that special. I only came for my special people. And she has to say to him, look, even the dogs
yeah.
eat the crumbs from the master's table.
She has
She
to
boxed him,
grovel.
she boxed him in the corner. and
Yeah.
had to grovel.
Yeah.
Then and only then, when he saw that no, this woman,
Mhm.
she's going to insist and she's going to, you know, put me in a really bad way. I better just give her what she wants and be. Oh, and then he says, "Oh, woman, you're fit."
Right,
I
right.
just even I can't.
Well, he only helps when she puts herself into that very low position. Same with
Oh
the book of
yes.
Job. When Job said, "I hate myself," that's when God finally stepped in. It
Mm,
sucks.
it does. So the question to you, Deborah, as we round up,
Mhm.
do you think that the virtuous woman in Proverbs 31, do you think it is realistic in 2023?
Oh, no. I don't think it was honestly, I don't even think it was realistic anachronistically back then. No. I don't think it's realistic at all. But it
Mm,
shows the type of mentality that the writers had, that uh, they dress it up in all this poetic and flowery language and try to make it sound good. But if you strip away all the poetic dressings in the text, it's pretty gross. It's pretty vile.
it is absolutely, absolutely vile. And just a quick one here. I think that's good. Give me a chance to fill up the college. Just give me one sec. I think that's a good. Just give me a chance. Of the call in shows and announcement. Okay. Yeah, just wanted to say thank you to everybody in chat. I see you all. There's Mojo, there was Rion, Tolko, WMM, Dandy, Nigel. Yes, all of you. Seen your comments. Thank you all so much. Deborah, have you got your own channel?
Yeah, I've got let's see, my Facebook and my Twitter and my Instagram. They all
Yeah.
have my link tree, which shows my YouTube channel. I put my name up there. It's Deborah Grace. My channel is Deborah Grace. Um, but if you catch the link tree, you can catch all the links.
Right. So guys, make sure to follow her and follow myself, the Afro Atheist, here on YouTube and TikTok and the good places. All right, everyone. This has been fun. Did you have any last words, Deborah?
Oh, I was just going to say that I'll send Wes my link tree link, and then he can just put it in the description.
Right. So on a final note, just be a good woman. Don't try to be like a virtuous woman. It's unrealistic. You can we can achieve that. Nobody should expect that of any woman in
Right.
2023. All right, everyone. Good night.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness, hilarious, you think you're with my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior, inferior, you know